Welcome to the ACEVEDO video store. Today is another theater review. Yes, another theater review. Well, a very overdue one, because you see, I saw My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission, based on the anime, based on the manga of the same name, created by Koi Horikoshi, released earlier this year in December 2021, and finally released in US theaters in October 29th. I actually got to see this on the premiere in October 29th. Like a theater not so nearby. It's like 30 minutes away and all that. But unfortunately, they had time afterwards, to make a review and all that. This is why 2 weeks later, I now have a good amount of time to make this review and all that. So yeah, unfortunately, I won't be filming this by my My Hero Academia shrine. But I do have some of my My Hero Academia merch, like my energy drink, the hadn't drinking yet, the pins, and my favorite My Hero Academia figure, which is this. This is cool. Now I have suddenly changed camera angles. This is a spoiler and non-spoiler review, so I'll leave some timestamps in the description for people to skip to the spoiler part and the non-spoiler part. Without procrastination, let's get into the story. The film takes place, I think, around mid-season 5, and it's basically about the group of heroes, Deku working for the Endeavor agency and all that, and also with Todoroki and Bakugo, and there's also a few characters here and there, basically trying to figure out a cult who is basically against having quirks and all that, and believe in a theory called the Quirk Doomsday Theory and all that, which is basically the theory is that quirks get too powerful, then, the world ends and all that. So the leader decides to plant several bombs across the world that will basically kill anybody who has a quirk and all that. So Deku and friends must figure out how to get this, and Deku soon meets, let me mention this before, Deku is of course Zuko Midoriya. Well, so Deku meets Rodney Soul I believe somewhere in Europe, because in the film they mentioned something about using euros, but they never really mention what kind of part of Europe up and all that, because there's several countries that use euros. But they are caught up by police trying to shoot them down, and they escape, and they later found out that Deku is now on the most wanted list for several murders, which they can't figure out why he's on the most wanted list. So Deku's on the run with Roddy Soul, and while doing so, they try to figure out how to stop the cult, which I think has a name and all that, in order to prevent everybody from basically, being killed and saving the world. So that's the plot without not much spoilers here and there and all that. Probably did spoil the part that they're in Europe. The movie is really great. Basically, I expected something different, but the thing I got in this movie is really good. The story is pretty good as well. You get some family elements in there and all that, mainly with Roddy Soul taking care of his siblings. The animation is pretty well done. The soundtrack is also pretty good. There's also 2 original songs for this film. One during the film where basically it's like a montage of Roddy and Deku, like basically, just exploring throughout the country and all that. I was like thinking that one song for the movie Shrek should have been into that scene and all that, but it's basically the scene where Donkey and Shrek leave the swamp and head to the castle and all that. I was thinking of that song when I was watching that montage scene. I was like, I wonder why they couldn't get that song and all that. The film was really entertaining. It's a bit more comedic, I would say, in terms of animation and all that. It's a bit more comedic itself. It follows a bit on comedy, but I do really like what the jokes they made and all that, and what they did with the animation. The fight scenes are pretty well done. For some reason, there is a lot of blood, which fits the PG-13 rating and all that, but there's enough blood to the point that you question, should any of them be, passing out from blood loss? If you look into humans and all that, we don't have that, an infinity amount of blood to bleed out like in Fist of the North Star and all that. There's also some things that question, should you be passed out? You're being thrown to the wall several times. And another thing I want to mention is that we get to see the world. We get some cutaways between, characters in different parts and all that. Hawks and, I'm trying to remember what's the arc, and Dark Shadow are at, Hawks and Dark Shadow are at America. Others are at Egypt. They're in somewhere around the world and all that. But we don't get to see that much of the world, like the title, World Heroes Mission. I expect them to go country by country and all that, as stopping everything from there. But then again, they're basically saving the world. but they found some place in Europe to do it. I wonder where else they could go aside from the world. Maybe space. Yeah, space would work better. You know, they could just travel to space itself. But overall, it's a great movie. And I hear some people like saying like, oh, it's not really good as the second one. The second one and third one, I would say they're good at their equal levels and all that. You know, I like the second one because it has really great fight scenes and the action is amazing. I like the third one because it explores a bit more of the characters and also there's some elements of the story I really like. So they have like, you know, both good things about them, which I'll give this film 4.4 out of 5 stars. Now we get to spoilers of the film. Okay, so we start the movie immediately, like basically we get the scene of like the opening shot of the film and all that. The city gets completely obliterated by the bomb. Everybody's basically killed, melted, or their quirks overpowered to the point that one guy finally turns into like a turtle. It has an interesting aspect to it, like, you know, like Colt's like, oh, we're gonna take over the world. And the heroes are already at it, like, okay, let's go save the world and all that. The family aspect of the film is quite interesting and all that, with Roddy's soul basically taking care of his siblings and all that after his father, quote-unquote, abandons him, which we later found out that is not true. I sort of like how the fact, like, how basically Roddy and Deku first meet up with each other. First, basically, Roddy steals a suitcase from a bank robber, stealing a whole bunch of jewels and all that. But then he drops it, and somebody else is taking a suitcase, and his car gets crashed, and the suitcase flies off and all that, and some woman tracking them down. They're looking for that suitcase that the man took from the car and all that. So because they're like the same silver cases, Roddy picked up the case that has the things that the lady was looking for and took it without realizing, you know, it's filled with jewels. And then when they checked it, Roddy was like, oh no. And then, which leads to the scene where Deku nearly gets shot down by several police officers and all that. And later, basically, we kind of find out is that basically the police are after him because he's wanted for murder, 17 murders and all that, and they're trying to arrest him. Or just kill him down and shoot him. Like any professional would. I like the fact that when the devil approaches them by saying like, give me the evidence and show me if this is true, they go, oh, the case is still pending. And I was like, if the case is still pending, you know, still processing and all that, like the evidence itself, why you go after and arrest him? That's not how police work. You know, first you gotta look at the evidence, then you go evaluate, okay, go arrest him. There's no like, okay, the evidence, we process, let's go arrest him before we do anything and all that. Just arrest an innocent man, or that we don't have that much stuff on about. But then when it never works out, the police, chief police officer pulls out like a book, like the drawers, and it has the book, Quark's Doomsday Theory, which I mentioned before what it was about. And I was like, oh, police corruption at its finest. Because of course the police chief officer is in support of that theory, and for some reason Colt convinces him like, hey, can you put one of the guys, you know, get them arrested so that way they will get distracted, and the police officer was like, yeah, sure. But later we get like one shot of like the office, like the chief like getting arrested and all that. So now Deku and Roddy are on the run and all that, and they're basically heading out like to some other, like, I think another state or country. Like, oh, we go over to that border, they won't find us there and all that. But I'm not sure what it is, but I think most of the cities that specifically are in Europe that Roddy and Deku are in are fictional, I would say, unless I'm completely wrong and I have a terrible world aspect and all that. Because to be honest, even though they use euros, I have no idea what country they are in. Germany? Somewhere else? Anyways, I think I need to learn more about my geography and what kind of type of buildings they had. Because I want to say Italian. Like, oh, there's somewhere in Italy, but then there's like a bridge that kind of looks like the Golden Gate Bridge and all that. And they have like some motor homes like by the bridge itself. From that bridge, I actually thought it was going to take place in San Francisco. But I think we did get like one scene like during San Francisco. Actually, San Francisco in when Hots and like Dark Shower in America and all them. So basically, Roddy and Deku are basically on the run and all that. and unfortunately they're not listening to the song, that one song from the Shrek movie and all that, which kind of fits well. I need somebody to do like an A&B with that one soundtrack piece from Shrek, where Donkey and Shrek are like going to the castle from their swamp and all that, and insert that to the scene where Deku and Roddy are on the run with their little van they stole. So they go in disguise. They put on little hats, and unfortunately they didn't do that much on the features at all. So these are not like really professional runaways, to be honest. They just put on a hat, green hair, nobody knows. Actually, now I think about it, kind of reminds me of Clark Kent, where Superman just goes like, oh, glasses with soup, nobody knows. Hey, so Deku does that like, oh, I have a farmer's outfit, a hat, nobody knows. Not even like some beard like in Lupin the Third Castle Kaguya show where they put on a beard and mustache and some glasses like, oh, we're going over there, and nobody notices and all that. But in case, and also I do like that aspect of like how like basically the characters are trying to figure out like where's the location and all that. Then we finally figure out what was in that case, and they somehow like everybody somehow forgets that Deku's like the most wanted of like supposed wanted criminal out there, because they go into a hotel, then like basically like look up on the files they have from the case, like, oh, these are the files to disrupt up the bombs and all that, and everybody's just running out because it's like in 2 hours the bombs are going to explode. I think nobody won't care, like, well, the world's ending and all that. But I do sort of like the suspense there where they head down like, we only have 2 hours to do this and we have to save the world and all that. And we do find out why Roddy Soul's father, like, quote-unquote, abandoned them. But it was mainly due to the fact that, basically, some of the scientists were kidnapped. Like some cults, they were kidnapped in order to work on the technology on the bombs, in order to defect the quarks, in order to make them, to go berserk. And everybody dies. Basically, the cult consists of people in robes, and they all have guns, because all of them are coincidentally quirkless, but somehow they don't do that much with guns. It's like they get like stumble upon like, ah! So we get into like the final like climactic battle between Deku and the cult leader himself and all that, which kind of reminds me of Megamind. The interesting thing about that fight is that he has a quirk which calls reflex, which basically if you try to punch him, the punch reflects back to you and all that. But unfortunately, him being against Quark so much, because the villain of this film and all that, cult leader, basically has a hatred towards Quark because his Quark basically like made his parents didn't like him and all that, and had to never get a part in his life, which motivates him to start this cult and hate the 80% of people in the world about him. So he gathers his cult and goes, I'm your new leader, we gotta destroy the world, and then only us will remain. I'm not sure how that idea will work out if the 20% of the earth is left. Let's see, there's like 7 billion people in the world, like that's a small majority there and all that. But it kind of sounds kind of ridiculous to me, like with the aspect and all that. But the interesting part, I would say, is that basically when it reaches to the point where Deku like wins over the cult leader and all that, basically the cult leader has such a hatred towards his quirk, is that he never really trained the fact that he could improve or train with his quirk and all that. So that basically leads off to Deku over winning him because his quirk, quirks have limits and all that. And him failing, and the world is saved because Roddy saved the world. So yes, Roddy basically comes in the fight and goes, don't worry, I'll save the world. And basically tricks the leader like, okay, I'm going to join. Psych, I'm going to run to the door. Then the laser shoots him through the chest, and he walks down the hall bleeding and all that. And I was like thinking, you should be dead by now. If you're bleeding that much. So he goes down the hall, and for some reason, in the last 50 seconds, he manages to put the little USB in the port and goes, I saved the world. Now think about him. Why do villains, when they have their like, oh, I got this machine here, it will help with my plan, put a self-destruct button? Now think about it, it sounds really dumb in a way, as like Dr. Doofenshmirtz sort of type of way from Phoenix and Prefer, where he has like this big red button and all that. And for some reason, in like the center of this massive machine to like set up all these bombs, there's like a little port where you just put like a little USB drive there. boom, everything's down. You know, it doesn't have like lock, case. No, it's just there. It's just open for anybody, like. So yeah, then the movie ends and the world is entirely saved, and everybody goes, "Yay, we saved the world!" So I went to this movie in the premiere and all that, and I went with my 2 other cousins. I didn't went along with Leader. I went with my other cousins and all that, and I dressed up as Deku for both the premiere and for Halloween, and also for the costume contest at my school, at my high school and all that. I'm not sure if I won, but I'm definitely sure that if I didn't win, the guy who dressed up for Jake from State Farm definitely win, or the T-Rex, or Nacho Libre. But in case, so back to the topic about the premiere. So I dressed up as Deku, who was painting my hair green with some spray green paint, all that, which always not here, unfortunately, not on the set. And I was in the theater and all that. First we got the tickets because I pre-ordered tickets before like a week ahead. And we got the best seats at the theater and all that. And when I got our tickets, they gave each of us a little book. Yes, a little book here and all that. So this is like a manga sort of type of way, or the Jump Comics like a special one-off issue. I think this is supposed to connect with the, you know, with the manga itself, but I think they did it with the 2 other films, 2 Heroes and also World, and I'm trying to remember, and Heroes Rising. But I don't think but none of them came to the U.S. aside from this one, which is like the first one, and all that. But I do like some of the things they feature in this book and all that. You got a bit of character bios like Roddy Soul, a bird, the little bird sidekick, Pinot, which will be sold at your local Hot Topic, and most merchandising and all that. Finally, My Hero Academia has a thing to advertise, has their own little fun animal, you know, like the Minions. In case. And we get some things from the other characters themselves that are featured in the film. Like the weirdest one is this character, Salim, from the guy in Egypt, which is like this hieroglyphic, like 2D, like this flat character, not like as a character, but this literal flat character, like running around, like going zoom. We get some interesting facts here and there. That's the Colier's name, Fleckturn, or Gazunake. Yeah. And we also get like a bit of a manga section at the near end of the film. No, not the near end, but the near end of the manga itself. And I think the funny, interesting thing I read here, indeed, there's an actual interview with Kohei Horikoshi himself, the creator of My Hero Academia. And this is what he asked for. What are your top 3 favorite movies? And he responds, though the ranking changes frequently, the current number 1 is Akira. Number 2 is The Ring. Number 3 is Spider-Man Far From Home. And the third question is, what book is like a Bible to you? And guess what it is? It's Akira. So yeah, that's interesting to know that me and Kohei Horikoshi share the same favorite movie. To be honest, I consider Akira as my number 1 favorite movie. And yeah, it's kind of interesting that we both share, like, you know, similar tastes and all that. And I kind of like how Akira is like considered like a Bible to him, but then again, Akira's like 6 volumes of manga and all that, unless he was like talking about the first one, or like the entire series and all that. So yeah, it's quite interesting to read this and all that. And I kind of like the fact that he wants to go to, like, here's like anywhere in the world he wants to visit, is like Star Wars Galaxy Edge at Disney World Resort. And he also wants to go some country and all that. Yeah, some country. Is that I'm trying to find where's the last question here. Oh, because he mentions like some funny thing about like some like lore that is like exclusive to this book only, which I'm trying to find here. Oh yeah, here it is. He says in question 22, can you tell us one secret about My Hero Academia that you can share only here? And he responds, the AI used in UA robots and others once rose in rebellion. The robots in My Hero Academia used for the training, you know, in the show itself, once about to like take over the school itself. I wonder how that ended well. I wonder how that ended, which sounds amazing that the robots try to fight back like, you know what, we have better intelligence than you guys. Because I kind of like the theory, like basically like robots or machines or technology is going to take over the world and all that. Hey guys, so you're going to get this when you go see the movie, but I'm not sure, like it's been over 2 weeks, they still have these and all that. And here's the thing, guys. Not for sale. This definitely is going to be sold on eBay a few times. I haven't checked if any listings are there on eBay, but this is going to be sold on eBay. Like, I don't want to go see the movie, but I want to buy the exclusive merch, you know, all that. So yeah, this is kind of great that I got this in the theater. But what is also great is there were 2 other people who cosplayed as My Hero Academia's characters in the theater itself. One of them dressed up as Shoto Todoroki, and I think in his medieval outfit from like that one intro, like no, the outro of the show itself and all that, and some art. Which I do have a poster up here with the same outfit and all that. There's also one girl who dressed up as a Chakuraka in the theater itself. And I was like picking up my popcorn, and me in the theater, and the guy who's serving me popcorn, and he's like complimenting my costume. He's like, "Hey, nice costume you have. Well, where you got it?" And I go, "Oh, I got it from Speller Halloween and all that, you know, the online." And he goes, "Oh, that's cool. There's not that much cosplayers here. They usually just show up on Saturdays, Sundays." And I go, "Oh, that's interesting and all that." So we had an interesting conversation, basically like talking about like how we're like fans of shows with the guy in theater and all that. And when I went to see the movie and all that, it was quite great to like see it and all that in the theater, or with the sound design. We got to see the Japanese version of the film, like the Japanese like dub. I wanted to go see the English dub like after the premiere, but basically I wanted to feel the experience in the D-Box, because for some reason My Hero Academia supports the D-Box and all that, like, you know, the thing where the seats like shake and all that. I was like thinking I want to see the movie in My Hero Academia, her World Heroes Mission, in that, in my theater and all that, but for some reason they're always screened like in the early afternoons before I get out of school. And I told him how I had to change the belt for my costume, because the belt that came in with Spirit Halloween, like when it came out of the box, well, more like bag, it was too small. So it couldn't go around my waist that much. It couldn't like buckle up. So I basically took my belt, painted it red. At first I painted it white, then red, and wore that. The only thing I wish they could have had is like the black buckle you see in the show. Because when you see the here, according to this One for All can, you get the little black buckle here. But mine was like silver and wasn't a buckle, it was like, you know, like a regular belt. And I put the little like pouches like through the belt itself, which those actually could open, but they're kind of cheap in a way that they don't stay in shape. Like let's say you sit down and they're kind of squished. If you're sitting with 3 other people, they get squished with a seatbelt and all that. Overall, pretty good costume with the tracksuit itself. The tracksuit like kind of felt like very empowering. And I think it's because I like watching Bruce Lee movies and all that, and I recognize the Game of Death outfit from the film that he never finished. And I put this on, the Deku tracksuit, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel empowering. I know Kung Fu and I could kick anybody now. But for some reason when I dressed up as Deku to school, for some reason people thought I was like this character, like this costume from a show called Squid Game. I had heard of Squid Game before. I heard several things like, oh, the show was pretty good and all that. But I haven't seen the show yet. And I don't get why I wear like a red belt over this tracksuit. I have like these knee pads and these elbow pads. I didn't bring the gloves because I need, you know, use my hands, and also I didn't bring the gloves to the premiere because I need to eat my popcorn with. But why? Because like you're Squid Game. And why people go, oh, you're that guy from Power Rangers. You know, the Green Ranger. People say I look like this without the helmet. Why? Hey guys, that's enough about my rant that nobody recognizes my costume. Like, only like a few people actually recognize them before I had to tell them, like, it's not Squid Game. Or it's not Power Rangers. Which I don't get and all that, because I actually had seen like the Squid Game like tracksuits they mentioned, like, you know, the costumes they wore. That's basically just the leggings and like some jacket. No, not leggings, like Sweatpants. Yeah, sweatpants. There we go. Boom. When I wore the costume to Halloween, thankfully, most people knew I was from My Hero Academia. And actually, you know, it's funny. I have an acquaintance in high school and all that, where basically this girl, during I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, the Halloween contest. She dressed up as Toga, and one of us as Deku and all that. And we were basically the only two people in the entire costume contest to dress up as My Hero Academia characters. The rest were dressed up as Demon Slayer characters like Tanjiro or Shinobu and all that. But they didn't. I don't think they were part of the costume contest in itself. That was a quite interesting experience, because throughout school people call me like, "Oh, Squid Game?" And I go, "No, My Hero Academia." They go. And the funny thing is that for some reason there were two people who asked me like, "Oh, you're dressed up as My Hero Academia?" I go, "Yes, I am dressed up as My Hero Academia." "How much did your costume cost?" And I go, "What?" That was the first thing they asked. "How much did your costume cost?" Well, the costume was like $65, and I took my $75 My Hero Academia K-Swiss shoes, 1 out of 700. Okay, so I dressed up as like basically like a My Hero Academia fanboy to school and all that. I kind of brought in my hat and done my hair green, which partly distincts me out. But I woke up late and I cut, and that's why I told my teacher and all that, like, "Oh, I woke up late, couldn't like spray my hair green." And she was like, "Oh, you could do it in the bathroom and nobody wouldn't care." And I goes, "Wait, what?" And the costume contest, I won like this. So they were like, "Oh, next one, number 18." And I go up there and go, "Hi, everybody. I'm Deku, also known as Izuku McDoria from a show called My Hero Academia. Thank you." And I walked out. A great performance there. There, I will say, like, great delivery. I just goes, "Hi, how are you then? Goodbye." But Jake from State Farm, I think that's a definite winner there. The guy who dressed up as Jake from State Farm really stayed into the character and all that. And it was like the greatest thing. My friend dressed up as a Scarecrow and all that, and we were just like standing there. And there was a Tyrannosaurus Rex and Nacho Libre there. And the funny thing is that the girl I was mentioning before, dressed up as Toga, actually saw me during, like, when I was trick-or-treating and all that, like, "Oh, there you are." I go, "Oh yeah, there you are." Okay, so which I'm presuming she lives somewhere, like, a few blocks somewhere near me and all that, because, you know, I like live by the school itself, like, just a few blocks away. And the funny thing about trick-or-treating and all that is that there was, like, this group of kids, like, less than 10 or 8, they were like, "Oh, Squid Game, Squid Game." And I was like, why 8-year-olds know Squid Game and all that? Because I have seen some clips of Squid Game, because my cousin was watching it, and I just like went over, looked at her phone, and just see some guys getting shot down. And I was looking at the kids, I was like, "How do you know Squid Game?" And then I told them, "No, I'm not Squid Game." And my someone was like, "Come on, just let them believe it." Overall, it's a really good movie. I suggest you go watch it. If not, you could just wait on the DVD Blu-ray release and import it from Japan, or wait a few months later in spring of 2022. I'm going to get this right. I have a prediction. Spring 2022, we're going to get a Blu-ray release of My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission in the United States. Because in December, we're going to get like the film itself on Blu-ray in Japan. This is me from not looking into facts at all. Just me presuming and all that. If I get it right, it'll be an amazing coincidence. Because actually, I made a prediction of this film before, and I haven't checked on it for a while, and I know for a fact I am definitely wrong in that prediction. You know, I'm just kidding. So I have the prediction right on my phone and all that, and it was only on 2 places. Here, you know, I sent a text to my cousin, and the other is like, I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, a comment section in Forever News, a pretty good YouTube channel that catches up with the news of anime. Forever News, everybody. I suggest to go watch that channel. But if you're into manga, might have some manga spoilers and all that, because he does review like each manga chapter week by week and all that. Unfortunately, he always seems to recommend to me, because I watch his videos on Forever News. Basically, sometimes get spoilers just by the titles, like, "Deku did this? What?" Okay, so here's what I wrote. After looking at the art and title and the tagline from the previous teaser, I think the theorem of, it could be wrong. the film will be like, hey, let's go international, and the characters will travel somewhere outside Japan. Of course they did. I'm thinking it will be somewhere in Europe. Yes, I was definitely right about that. Because there is a promotional art of the characters dressed as if they were medieval ages. Oh yeah, the medieval ages one, that one up there and all that. There's also art like dressed them up in steampunk, which is originating from England. England's not right, because if I was like thinking like the character is going to take place in England, no. And basically it got this off from the poster itself, you know, the characters like jumping off a helicopter, going down to the sky, going whee! If it is in Europe, the two places might be London or France, and I wonder why. London because of the fictional character Sherlock Holmes, who is a detective who solves crimes, and France because it seems also fitting. Also, the French character Arsène Lupin is the thief, even master of disguise, and the character inspired the manga Lupin III. Another thing is that The Three Musketeers is a French book. When zooming into the photos, the city looks somewhere in Europe because of the buildings. Yes, it is in Europe because they use euros, but I'm not sure if France uses euros. Alright, here's the plot. As for plot, I have 3 ideas from common tropes of stories being in those places. 1. A villain is about to take over a government place which revolves around a crime the characters are investigating in. Then, somewhat is true. The character doesn't take over a government place, but it's going to take over the world, or just destroy the world and all that, and kill everybody. And the crime is basically them, like, you know, try like kill everybody with the bombs, and all that. Who has a quirk, and the quirkless people will only live through those bombs and all that. I'm not sure there's going to be any side effects to them, like being blinded from the blast. Anyways, okay, 2, someone steals something from a museum, and the characters begin looking into that, but it becomes a huge case, and then facing off the villain. Someone does steal something, a case of jewels, but then they get switched up with a case of documents and files, and also the USB drive that, you know, fools the villain's plans at the end. And it basically becomes a huge case because, you know, now Deku is wanted for murder, and also because it leads them facing off to the villain. Okay, 3. The Three Musketeers plot done again, but with some alterations. Now, in the final, I'm not sure. I know the Three Musketeers plot because I watched Mickey Mouse's Three Musketeers and all that. So I definitely know the true story there by watching a Disney version of the story with Mickey Mouse, Donald, and Goofy. The 3 characters fight like three different villains while Deku's fighting the climactic battle with the Cold Leader and all that. Bakugo fights these twins, and to basically have these like razor type quirks and all that, fighting against Bakugo, and kind of gets insane when watching it. And also Todoroki fights another villain, which was the quirk I forgot about. So all 3 of them are simultaneously fighting, but not with each other. Okay, here's the one. I would say there's a high chance that the plot could be similar to the 3rd point I had. It sort of is. Okay, here's the conclusion. A theory I have that could be completely wrong when the film comes out. There could be a slight chance I may be right, but we just have to see the film is shown. I did make a prediction about the 2nd movie of it maybe being similar to the plot of Seven Samurai, but I was wrong about that. Of course I was wrong about the film kind of being Seven Samurai. This was written back in March 25th, 2021, when the poster first showed up, and my cousin sent it to me like 3 in the morning. I just came up with this whole theory and all that. Well, interesting. I started editing season 5 episodes. I'm looking through this, and it says here I started editing season 5 episode, like season 5, the My Hero Academia review on like March 26th, 2021. How interesting there. Overall, it's a really great movie. I suggest to watch it in theaters or wait for the Blu-ray release and all that. Or you could just maybe wait, in my prediction, spring of 22 for it to come out and all that. Which if I was right about it, like, you know, the US release being spring of 2022, that would be amazing and all that. I actually get something right. So that's all the review. Have a nice day, and later on come back to our video store.